The CGA Tour, a podcast unlike any other. Now your host, Calvin Alexander.
Hey Cowboy fans, today's episode is brought to you by Oakley Burklow, your go-to independent insurance agent and proud OSU alum. Oakley helps with home, auto, life, and business insurance. Working with multiple top-rated insurance companies to find you the right coverage at the right price. Licensed in Oklahoma and Arkansas. Call 918-280-9068 or email oakley.burklow@connectmyinsurance.com. Personal service, honest advice, and a fellow poke helping you protect what matters. Welcome back to the latest episode of the CGA Tour podcast. As always, here I'm your host, Calvin Glenn Alexander, hence the name. And tonight, I am joined by a special guest here, joined by OSU MART, as you may know him on Twitter or X, but better known, of course, in person as Reagan Harris, former Oklahoma State student like myself. Reagan, how's it going?
It's going really well, man. I think a lot of people are feeling pretty happy right now in Stillwater. So yeah, I'm feeling good.
Yeah. I've got the co-host is Trey Florence is out today. He just had a kid, so congratulations to him. But thanks so much for joining here, and definitely want to go over a bunch of different things as you've been covering the Oklahoma State coaching search really well and giving a lot of us kind of great insight here. We've been trying to follow it and keep up to date. So what can you tell us here about Eric Morris, just kind of overall? Why should Oklahoma State fans should be so excited that he's the head coach here coming on staff, of course, fully after the UNT season ends?
Well, look, I think a lot of people are underrating this hire just because it's Oklahoma State who hired him. But what they're not understanding is Oklahoma State beat out several programs for Eric Morris. And I mean numerous programs. Top of the line, middle of the pack SEC. You're talking about like Kentucky considering firing Stoops to go after him. Arkansas went after him, didn't work out. He was one of those group of five guys that we had marked early on. And slowly, obviously, as the season got better and better, became a more prominent potential hire across the country. We had Golish on the table as well, and he ultimately wanted to go to Auburn when that door opened. But that was the only coach in our search that directly basically told us no other than NFL options like Munkin, which obviously makes sense. So to have basically your top candidate and your top option come to the program, one is great because that didn't happen in basketball last year. Not to say Steve Lutz wasn't a great hire, but it just goes to prove how good of a place that football actually is in despite going 1-11. Two, you get a guy that maybe is the best offensive mind in the group of five. I mean, not even disputably, the best offensive mind in the group of five. A guy that's coached Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, Cam Ward, John Mateer, you name it. He's kind of been there on the scene for some of the great college football quarterbacks that we know today. He's bringing one of the most on-the-rise defensive coordinators. He's bringing one of the most on-the-rise offensive coordinators. There's so many things to be extremely excited about when it comes to Eric Morris. My favorite stat that I've been spewing to people lately is 5 out of the last 6 games, they've scored 50 or more.
That's pretty darn great. He's got, of course, I think a 45, maybe 46 and 13 or 21 winning record all time, across Incarnate Word and UNT. And that's a time over at Washington State, too, where he's just really highly sought after of a great head coach just a few hours south. What about Mestemaker here? I mean, a lot of rumors that, hey, he may be transferring, may not. Have you heard anything or just kind of know more about why we'd want him in Stillwater, period?
Well, one, he's PR trained, so he's not going to say anything directly, and he shouldn't. He's playing his heart out. He has a chance to go on and play in the playoffs and really showcase who he is and maybe get offers from some giant programs. I mean, really, his career, his NFL on the radar of the NFL could go up just from this season. So he's focused. In terms of what you've heard internally, because obviously he's going to be talking to family and family are going to talk and that type of thing. As long as Oklahoma State can be competitive on the NIL side, there should be no reason that he doesn't want to follow Coach Morris and his offensive coordinator, who've coached him up to be one heck of a quarterback. I mean, this is a guy that's throwing for 500 on a bad day, 600 on a good day. Maybe one of the best quarterbacks in the country. The fact he's not even in the Heisman conversation is funny to me. He's taken a team that has never won even close to 10 games, and he's won them 11. And he's throwing like 5 touchdowns a game. So, he's ridiculous. If Oklahoma State got him, you're looking at an instant turnaround. You're looking at a program that's instantly competitive. He's that kind of playmaker. So you would hope that he'll come to Stillwater, but there's no way of knowing. It's a little bit early for him.
Yeah, and he's also thrown for 1,500 more yards than all of Oklahoma State's passes combined this season. I'm including Sam Jackson, Haas Haney, Zane Forge, of course. Noah Walters has got a couple, almost 100 yards passing there. Heck, we even have some another wide receiver and running back who are almost close to that mark. So great to hear about him and know kind of his stuff. And yeah, it sucks we got to wait a little bit more. But it seems like, though, that on X and Twitter, or whatever we're calling it these days, people are just giving a bunch of Oklahoma State fans crap about trying to be UNT fans, trying to be supportive right now in this kind of era of the weird coaching cycle for UNT as they look to hire Neil Brown, it seems, as their next head coach. But right now, as it stands, Eric Morris is their head coach for this weekend, of course, in their conference championship game on Friday. And then for whatever may follow after that in the playoffs, why should Oklahoma State be such UNT fans right now?
Well, I find that to be a really interesting conversation. I saw different opinions, what people feel about that. I saw one person say that it's like patronizing and stuff and demeaning. Why? So for me, I actually always liked North Texas. Weirdly, I've always cheered for North Texas. I always thought they had like a cool stadium and some other things going on for them. The mean green. So for me, it wasn't that big of a transition. But also, I think as Oklahoma State fans, what a lot of people misinterpret about us is I think we actually have a fairly nice fan base overall, especially when it comes to hostility towards other fan bases other than Oklahoma, Texas, and some others. So I think it's more of like hey, I feel bad. You had your best season ever, and we had to come and take your coach because the format's garbage and college football's broken. And you saw that sentiment a lot where people were kind of on North Texas's side about that. So I think that's also a part to play is you kind of want to root for them so that they can, have a historic season and one last hurrah before they go and try and find someone else. And then the other half is, of course, you're going to cheer for your coach. I mean, this is the guy coming into Stillwater. If he goes on and wins a playoff game, that's huge for recruiting. That's huge for everything else. So yes, you should be cheering that Eric Morris succeeds at North Texas, beats Tulane, goes on. I mean, imagine they beat the future up and coming Florida head coach Summerall, and then goes into the playoffs and who knows, stuns somebody, which they have the offensive firepower to do. So yeah, I think it makes a ton of sense to cheer for North Texas. I'm a little bit confused as to why you would think otherwise.
Yeah, I think there's some UNT fans who don't want any part of Oklahoma State fandom for just a couple of weeks. They don't want the Oklahoma State fans who are not going to buy the jersey, not going to buy the hat, not going to buy whatever it may be. And I've seen all those comments all over social media. I do try to remind myself that for every single comment I see on social media, there's 100+ more people who are scrolling right past that, and it's no longer any part of it. It's the people who are outspoken the most who provide their opinion, of course, the ones we're talking about. But I don't understand it either. I would hate to think, hey, UCO fans really hate to see Terrell Davis excel and go to Oklahoma State and transfer and be a part of this offense, right? Like, why would you not want to see your guys succeed? For example, if Eric Morris turns around and leaves Oklahoma State in 2 or 3 years to go to Alabama, we probably did pretty good in those 2 to 3 years, I got to think. So you're only wanting success for your guys. It sucks to have them leave, don't get me wrong, but you're telling me that we're going to be gatekeeping fandom when you're UNT? I just can't stand it. If it's the same conference, Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, I get it.
Yeah.
This is not the same deal. Also, I know several Oklahoma State podcasters, including you and myself and others, have been talking about the Arkansas job and how much of a different job it is compared to the Oklahoma State job. Why is the Oklahoma State job so much better than the Arkansas job? I don't know if you want to kind of give another reason here of why, but clearly it looks like we won the Eric Morris, coaching hire battle with Arkansas.
Yeah, so I think it's a 3-part play here. So part one is Arkansas and Oklahoma State are so close together regionally, and they're very similar schools. And I know Arkansas fans want to throw up when I say that to them, but we are. And we're former Big 12 opponents, and there's a whole list of other factors played recently. And Arkansas fans generally they're very prideful fan base, which is fine. I mean, look, we've had to deal with them in baseball, and they've given us the whooping 1 or 2 times. So look, when it comes to Arkansas, it's a very riled up fan base. They're very passionate. They love their football team, which is why it was so unfathomable to them that they couldn't get the resources together and get the people together to bring whoever they wanted on board. we're an SEC program. We've got a big fan base. We have a great campus. We have a good stadium. We have good money. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of that. But there's a lot of ifs in the Arkansas program as well, such as if the alignment can be correct. And I talked about this a lot on my podcast a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about the Oklahoma State podcast or the coaching search, which was which team can get their alignment right when it came to Eric Morris, when it came to Alex Golish. And what does that mean? It means the board of regents, the donors, the coaches, the staff, and the facilities. All of that stuff is a working machine. It's a cog. It goes in a circle. It functions correctly. Whereas in Arkansas, they've got a bunch of big donors that want to control the situation or make the hire that they want. And so it was difficult to get anyone on board. And then also like dedicating the correct number of resources to NIL, being able to promise that that's going to be there. Whereas Oklahoma State, we put our big cowboy hat on the table and we said, hey, we've got $20 million right here ready to go. Here's the donors. Come say hi to them. The alignment was there. We put it together. The Board of Regents was a struggle at first. And so the fact that you have similar resources, a similar program, but you figured out your alignment, you've got the money in place, and the donors are all on board for the same mission and goal, those are the things that separated Oklahoma State. There's another, that's the first factor. Or sorry, the second factor. The third factor, to me, is conference. Now, that sounds weird because we're talking about the SEC. What you're watching in the SEC right now is every incentive for Eric Morris to not want to go to Arkansas. Kentucky, getting fired. Florida, Arkansas, obviously. Ole Miss now is coachless. I could go on and on. They've got like half their jobs are open, and that's because it's really it's a cutthroat league, and a lot of those programs think they're better than they are because of the patch on their chest. And Arkansas is the same way in the sense that, hey, you're going to be like a 7th or 8th place team, and that's a good season for us. Truly, that's really the reality. Whereas Oklahoma State, it's, hey, I can go here. And yeah, I'm not going to have the SEC money, but can go 11-1 and go to the college football playoff and make some things happen. That's comfortable. And then get a $10 million a year thing, because we have some guarantees to him that if he does certain things, his contract will scale and get extensions upwards of $12 million. So everything's there for him. And Arkansas is one of those things where, hey, if he goes 6-6 first 2 years, he could get fired because of how cutthroat they are over there. And I think Oklahoma State would be more patient. It's a more secure job. You get same resources, potentially could be a top dog of a P4 program. There's so many factors. Oklahoma State has the ifs right now. Arkansas doesn't.
What more can you kind of share on the contract details? I don't think I'd heard any of that information yet, or is it public knowledge? Yeah,
so the ones that I've seen, I actually haven't even asked anyone about it. I know what we had as our budget, which was approximately $12 million a year. Now that gets shrinked because you're talking about buyouts and things like that. But I think that we ended up around $6.5 million, somewhere in that range for Eric Morris, which Arkansas was only offering about 5.5. So that was a big piece. And then also North Texas was around there too. So we're like, hey, $1 million more a year. I think that's where it's about, but I haven't seen the details specifically. I'm just kind of guessing based on what I was told.
Gotcha. Okay. And then I think you mentioned struggle with kind of the Board of Regents, maybe a holdup. Did you know anything, what happened with the Board of Regents or anything? Because I know last year they got completely involved in the coaching issues with Gundy and stuff like that you covered in depth as well.
Yeah, there was a ton of issues. So actually one of the concerns was we are about middle way through the coaching search. Everything was falling apart. Everything was looking great. We were on the phone with people you wouldn't even believe. And I can't say the names just because it would burn my source. That's the reason I can't. But we were on the phone with coaches you couldn't believe. Obviously, Golish was in the running. And Morris was kind of a secondary option because we had like Clark Lee on the phone. We had some other people as well. And then the Board of Regents did not know who they wanted to hire. Donors did not know who they wanted to hire. Malzahn was on the board. Munkett, Zach Robinson. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And the Board of Regents are trying to get their filthy fingers on it again. And Chad Weiberger's like, okay, guys, we can't do this. You got to let me do my thing. And from my understanding, I think someone on the BOR got replaced because of how bad it was. And also there was people in the BOR intentionally leaking information. A lot of people ask where I get sources. You can thank the BOR for the whole Gundy debacle a couple of years ago or a year ago now. That was all the Board of Regents feeding us that information, by the way. That's how horrible that situation was. And a couple donors. But that's kind of the point, though, is that the Board of Regents was just dysfunctional, and I think that they're on board and they're kind of doing their thing now, which is good. And there's been a lot of turmoil with the president turnover and coaching changes and all this kind of thing. So you got to give them a little bit of grace. They're not professionals in athletics, but I think that we're doing better now.
Well, that's definitely great to hear. And then as far as like the coaches who could be coming up with, with Eric Morris, I read a couple articles, I think from Scott Wright earlier today in the Oklahoman, that the GM is coming up here from UNT. I do not know how to pronounce his name, so forgive me. I'll look for pronunciation guidance. I ask you a question. But what about the coordinators? Any idea if we're getting the wide receiver coach / offensive coordinator? Because we know Morris is probably the one calling plays, right? And the DC as well.
Yeah, so the offensive coordinator, make sure I get, that's right. It's Jordan Davis. I want to make sure I got that right because I'm confused. There's two guys I want to talk about. Jordan Davis, the offensive coordinator, there's no question that he's coming unless someone poaches him. So, I mean, Eric Morris obviously wants him. Our offense has been a disaster this year. There's no one really to keep on staff outside of maybe Meacham just because he's good with the players. But Jordan Davis specifically, really good offensive mind, brilliant play calling, air raid fits Morris. So I expect him to follow. And then the other one to look after is Cobbs. So Cobbs is the running back coach. Now, the reason that's relevant is because essentially what I've been told, Hawkins Cobbs package deal. So if Cobbs comes, we get Hawkins, who's one of the best group of 5 running backs in the country, of course. And that's a guy that has the speed, he has the physicality, and he has the football IQ to be a really excellent running back. So those are the two names to watch. Yes, the GM from North Texas is following, which leaves some questions about what Kenyatta and company is going to do. I would hope that we retain him. That's going to be interesting to see, though. But yeah, those are the kind of, I would say that they're very likely to follow. And then the defensive coordinator you talked about, I already put out something a few days ago. He's probably joining. It seems like that's the indication. As to whether or not he'll be the defensive coordinator or not, I don't know. There's a lot of people asking if we're still in contact with Jim Knowles. My answer to that is no. Doesn't seem like that's going to happen, unfortunately. Because he was in the head coaching running, it's kind of like, oh, hey, no, we're not going to hire you as the head coach. Do you want to be our defensive coordinator? Kind of awkward. But yeah, I think he's going to bring his OC and his DC and his running back coach. The OC also operates as the wide receiver coach, if I'm not mistaken, kind of like what Dunn did. Sorry if that gives you PTSD, but don't worry, not the same situation. And then running back coach. So those are the guys that I know of that are like 95% sure are coming to Oklahoma State. In what capacity for the defensive side, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows right now, and that's because Eric Morris is really genuinely focused on the season.
Yeah, the DC for UNT is Skylar Cassidy, and then Scott Wright put out an article today of Raj Murti. I think that's how you pronounce it here, is the GM and other staff members for North Texas have begun working on behalf of Oklahoma State recruiting. So always great to hear that as well, too, here. It seems so weird, but we're just 2 years ago at the same time, not talking about winning the Big 12 championship because we're going up against that juggernaut Texas team. But then again, we're also talking about a 10-win season, 9 wins going into that game against Texas for the Big 12 championship. It just seems like a lifetime ago at this point. But it is also just 2 years ago that Gundy won a Big 12 Coach of the Year award trophy. And in 2021, he won it as well, too. But time passes, things change. How will you remember this 2025 one-win season where if Hosseini, the guy starting quarterback, play 3 series for Oklahoma State?
I mean, I'm personally just going to remember it as I should have expected the result, and I didn't. I got too excited because I trusted Gundy and what his resume was. It's also somber because I grew up on Mike Gundy football. That's what made me fall in love with college football, was the 2008 through 2013 Oklahoma State teams that were just so ridiculously fun to watch, putting the whole country on notice. Zach Robinson, Clint Shelf and company, and Brandon Whedon. And man, those teams were just so much fun. And so it's been a sad year for me to like watch Gundy go off into the sunset because I have so much respect for him and what he's done for our program. I know a lot of people don't. It's kind of a topic of debate right now, thanks partially to me, but I think that Mike Gundy's loyalty is what I'll remember, is him going out in the way that he did was so sad. And I I look back on 25 and I personally just wish that he got to finish out the season. But that's kind of how I'll remember the season for me.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird season. Yeah, someone who's born in 93 is myself. I barely remember Les Miles at all. I mean, I remember the Les Miles kind of 02, 03. Definitely remember those back-to-back Bedlam win T-shirts for sure, because those were being worn and a thing of pride throughout the state, especially being the one or two guy in Oklahoma City, in second and third and fourth grade, wearing Oklahoma State gear every day and being the Oklahoma State fan of everyone in middle school and high school. It's a weird deal. You're right. Got to move it on, but I respect Meacham. Definitely respect a lot from Bowen. I'll remember hopefully the defensive guys, and hopefully I'll remember all the guys who got some playing time, and Kobe Foreman and others who can expand upon that going on for the next couple seasons, but only time will tell. I also want to ask here, of course, about basketball. It seems like that is where we should be focusing a ton of our energy right now. If it's not for the North Texas playoff chances, it's towards the basketball season. Got a great game coming up here Tuesday night, just probably the same day you're listening to this, but we recorded this the day before. Want to ask you about the Northwestern win, kind of what that means, and kind of what your thoughts are on the Oklahoma State season going 7-0 for the first time in quite some time.
Well, I mean, I'll be pretty quick about it. Obviously, I've been ecstatic about Steve Lutz this season. I was completely wrong about him when we hired him. I heard some things internally that weren't great, which was basically all the staff hated him when he came through. Turns out that was because he was doing the right things, which time would indeed tell. But I think that this is a phenomenal start to the year. You really can't ask for better off a class of another bunch of transfer portal kids, and he's finally building up a recruiting class going on, and he can bring in his guys. So I don't think you can ask any more. 7-0, you beat a Big Ten team, and from here, really, you look at the schedule. They should not lose a game. They should go into conference play undefeated. This Northwestern win was super important. I love that they traveled all the way to Chicago, and it's 10 o'clock or whatever on Thanksgiving night. They're all probably exhausted, wanting food, missing family, and they go out and grind out an incredible win in a disgusting officiating performance where there was 58 something combined free throws. And one of those things where it doesn't matter how your team functions, it's going to be a bad game. It's going to be a close game. And so, yeah, I thought it was impressive. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Bedlam. December 13th this year, I feel like should be a win. Knock on wood. I'm never going to guarantee anything because I'm going to jinx it, of course, but should be a win. And I'm definitely really excited to see Steve Lutz not just be the head coach for Oklahoma State, but really just kind of how he holds on to the value of Oklahoma State fandom. I mean, he seems like the guy who is bringing energy, wanting fans out, contacting several different Oklahoma State people and, groups, fraternities, sororities, student affairs, all type of stuff, really trying to bring the rowdy back, which is always a great thing to hear as well, too. But it also is just tough because, we talk about the SEC when it comes to football and, hey, the top half of the conference is really good. When we talk about the Big 12 for basketball, it's Oklahoma State, and it's also everyone else all the time. You never have a night off. It can be one of the toughest conferences to play in. Just kind of want to ask you to the fact of being an Oklahoma State fan through this many years and seeing the Big 12 play. What do you think in Oklahoma State basketball can do this year? What's your highest expectation that we could get to?
Well, my ceiling for this team is probably top 5 in the conference, and I mean fourth, fifth. I know we're Oklahoma State fans. The defense is not good enough to win this conference. It's not. You can't be giving up 80 points a game, especially to reach top 3 in this conference when you're talking about Houston and company. And who's the other team that's dominating the Big 12 or in the Big 12 right now? Well, I can't even remember. Texas Tech is really good again. I know that.
Yeah. You got Arizona, KU.
Arizona, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know why Arizona slipped my name. Yeah, they're ridiculous this year. They've got 3 draft picks on their roster. So I look, one can hope maybe they can go on and make a conference tournament title game bid or something. But my expectation is a top 7 seed in the tournament. That's what I want to see. I want to see us be a 6 or 5 seed, somewhere around there. I think that is a reasonable expectation, and I'd love at some point in the season for us to crack the top 25.
I got to say, from all of the family members, I will definitely be saying thank you to not saying 6 or 7 seed, but Yeah, definitely the 6 or 5 seed for sure in the tournament. And it seems like this team is built pretty well from the ground up. We've got backups at good positions. We're not just a one-man show. This is not the 2020 Cade Cunningham or bust year, where if he doesn't go off for 40, we're not beating OU in overtime, for example. But I do know there's quite a bit of fandom for other Oklahoma State sports, baseball, softball, wrestling, etc. Wrestling, baseball, softball, any of those you want to touch on and just kind of give us what we need to know this season for Oklahoma State?
Well, wrestling is a national title contender. They're stupid good. They're ridiculously good. Baseball, who knows with Holiday and company. I've lost all faith. Softball, I think, is going to be a bounce back year for Gajewski. I think that it's going to be a really good softball season. Look, I think generally speaking, just get ready for transfer portal in football. That's what I want you to think about, because I think you're going to be floored. If what I believe is true on everything that I've been told in terms of how much money is on the table, Oklahoma State is about to shock some people with players that we bring in. So yeah, be prepared. In fact, over the next couple of weeks, once the AAC championship concludes, be looking at a couple 4 stars, maybe some flips back to the home state. So that'll be fun. Those are some things to look forward to.
Yeah, I don't know if you're talking about a former Oklahoma State player who was a 4-star tight end who he tweeted out about the 3-star who transferred out, and maybe a 4-star comes back. So I don't know if there's a guy with the initials JF, number 40, who might come back, but wouldn't be mad about that whatsoever. Is what you're saying more related to quality or quantity of player, or kind of both, that we could be looking for from the portal?
All you need to really know is within the first 24 hours of becoming the head coach, he offered a 4-star. That is a different mentality. And it wasn't just a 4-star. It's a really good linebacker. It's defense. We're going for the throat. So like in terms of expectations, I think it's just expect an Oklahoma State that understands the resources it has for once, which we haven't experienced under Gundy, because he always wanted under the radar guys. That was his philosophy. I anticipate different. Obviously, you'll have transfers from North Texas, but in terms of flips, there's some guys to watch that obviously I think a lot of people have their names they're considering, that they've been thinking about. So I can't say them because it'd be disingenuous to the recruit itself, but just be prepared. It's going to be fun.
Well, and on the quarterback front, Haas Haney, Zane Flores, Mestemaker, of course, rumored. What do you think Haas Haney ends up doing? Because that's the one guy that showed the most promise with the least amount of time to show any. It's almost like he didn't show a flaw. He just didn't have a blemish. But he played University of Tennessee Martin, of course, for 3 series before going out with a foot injury, which I can't think would be good to recover from when you're a fast guy.
Yeah. So I think that it all depends on what Mestemaker does. So if he comes to Oklahoma State, I would anticipate Zane Flores to get into the portal. Haas Haney, I could see going into spring. I could see him wanting to compete for the job because, well, for one, he's coming off an injury and he needs that spring footage so he still has the explosiveness and things like that. It's going to be really hard to enter the portal off of a broken ankle and get good offers out. That's better than Oklahoma State. So I think Haas Haney is one of those that maybe we'll see in the spring transfer window. As I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. Did they end the spring transfer window?
I believe it. Well, but that's the thing. It's like what Noah McKinney transferred out, during the middle of the season, and that was like, the portal's definitely closed, but we've got Noah McKinney signing with TCU, the offensive line for Oklahoma State. So I don't know if we know, honestly. I think guys can backdate all this stuff too, where it could be just a thing that changes all the time.
Okay. So, there's a single transfer portal. So it's January 2nd to January 16th. I knew I had heard somewhere that I think they had changed that. I don't know if there's a spring one anymore. So if that's the case, then I think there is a good chance Haas Haney enters the portal if Mestemaker commits to Oklahoma State, which would be obviously disappointing because we didn't really get to see what he's capable of. But you should just be, if we get Mestemaker, I'm going to be drinking so much orange Kool-Aid that my teeth will stain. I'm going to be so hyped. That's going to be great. So
I'm personally curious to see what a guy who has coached Mateer, Ward, Baker, Mestemaker, all these guys are guys that are former walk-ons. Or 0-star recruits. What happens when you get a 3/4-star recruit in and you're able to coach him up for an offseason. I mean, what could be, right? I mean, all of a sudden, then we're talking about some guys that's so much higher of a talent level. But do you also think that Morris is just, I mean, talk about Gundy finding diamonds in the rough. Do you think Mestemaker was just under-scouted? It just seems so weird that he'd have 3,500 passing yards, be leading the NCAA, that Caleb Hawkins, the running back, would lead the NCAA in touchdowns, and these guys wouldn't have gone to bigger schools. It just kind of seems like an odd deal to me, right?
Well, it happens a lot. It does, because it's all dependent on the high school you're playing in, the amount of scouting that you actually get attention from. And then on top of all of that, it's all about opportunity. So like Mestemaker probably had the best opportunity with Morris, who's telling him, hey, I coached Ward, I coached XYZ. And he's like, oh yeah, let's do that. So I think that that's probably a part of it. Is one, he probably could have gone to like a Big 12 level school or an ACC, but he had the better opportunity with Morris. In terms of why he wasn't a 4 or 5 star, well, Ollie Gordon wasn't a 5-star. Explain that one to me. I mean, that's one of the best athletes that's come out of high school in a while. Just raw athletes. You even watched him. So I don't know why those things happen. I think it has a lot to do with, this program has heat with Texas, so we're going to send our on 3 guys there. I think that's a lot to play with it, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I wonder with some of these bigger schools, like I went to a smaller school in Oklahoma where no doubt Mestemaker would have started for a quarterback, but would have also not gotten an offer to a Big 12 school if he had played high school football in Oklahoma for a 4A or 3A high school football team that didn't win a game my senior year. So I don't think that would have worked out well for him. So, but also knowing, hey, you played freshman B team. Well, that means you've got quite a lot of guys in the program and quite a lot of talent that he's going up against every day. So that part I understand a little more. But before kind of sign off and end out this one, any other things you want to add here? Really appreciate your insight, of course, in the Oklahoma State program and everything so far.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, really, I think Oklahoma State fans should be 10 out of 10 about this hire, even if you wanted Golish, even if you wanted Silverfield, God forbid, or whoever else. You should be really happy that they hired Eric Morris, because this is the first time I've said this. I've talked to my inner circle, but Eric Morris, personality aside, reminds me in terms of career trajectory so vividly of Lincoln Riley. Think about what he has done, the quarterbacks he has coached, the offensive explosivity coming from the group of 5 ranks, although he takes that leap from G5 head coach to full-time Power 4 head coach, whereas he was an offensive coordinator for a while at OU. But I think that he's kind of the next Lincoln Riley in terms of offensive explosion onto the scene, which means we might be able to expect potentially down the line some Heisman-level quarterback play at Oklahoma State. How fun would that be? Been a while. So, that's all I have to add.
Yeah, it'd be pretty great. I think if Mestemaker was at Oklahoma State with an 11-1 record, then all of a sudden we're talking no matter what Heisman Trophy contention. Whereas you talk about that at UNT, it's just a different level of football, and it's a different people are watching that one. You know, I mean, just their games are on Friday night sometimes, a lot of times, opposed to Big 12 having won a season. So anyways, if you're not already, you got to be following at OKSTMART on X. That's where you can find Reagan and all of his great Oklahoma State insights here. We'll be back again this week with probably another podcast, but Reagan, I really appreciate you joining here. And if you're not already, follow at the CGA Tour on, I would say Twitter and Instagram, since I'm used to saying for so many years, but X and Threads and Instagram and Blue Sky and wherever else. Send them some questions for the next podcast. Be more happy to answer them. And go Pokes.
Hey, Cowboy fans. Today's episode is brought to you by Oakley Berklow, your go-to independent insurance agent and proud OSU alum. Oakley helps with home, auto, life, and business insurance. Working with multiple top-rated insurance companies to find you the right coverage at the right price. Licensed in Oklahoma and Arkansas. Call 918-280-9068 or email oakley.berklow@connectmyinsurance.com. Personal service, honest advice, and a fellow Pope helping you protect what matters.
Cool. You know, man. Cool.